special day for our site visit. We are at the Arizona State Museum and being greeted today and hosted by Nancy Odegaard in the Arizona State Museum Conservation Laboratory.
Hi, Kimberly. Come on in.
Thank you. We're so glad to be here today and to get a chance to talk about your incredible bells project.
Great. Well, I'm Dr. Nancy Odegaard. I'm the conservator and professor here at the Arizona State Museum at the University of Arizona, but I'm also a board member of the Patronato San Javier since 2016. I became interested in the condition of the bells as a conservator and have been working with the art conservators Tim Lewis and Matilde Rubio to get access and see what the condition of the bells hanging, and thought I could help. The Patronato submitted a grant to the National Endowment for the Humanities to develop a treatment protocol, and we were working with a consulting conservator and friend of mine, Ron Harvey, and the idea was to work with the bell ringers, with some of the iron workers from the village, the conservators, and to develop a protocol for treatment and ongoing maintenance of the bells. The bells are incredibly important, and let me just show you a few pictures.
Awesome.
What our goal is to develop a way to treat the bells. At San Javier, there are 8 bells. 4 are bronze, that is, they have copper and tin, and 4 are iron. We're looking at the bronze bells first because they're the primary ones that are rung as part of a tradition at the mission and at missions. Today they're used to indicate when someone has passed from the village and for feast days, celebrations. In the past, long ago, mission bells were a bit of a timepiece and gave people an idea of when to get up, when to eat, when to rest, when to work. So life under the bell. But today the bell ringers at San Javier are in charge, and we're working together to try to create a way to best preserve the bells and the sound they make.
Mm-hmm.
So our goal is not to restore, but to preserve and stabilize. So one of the things that's going on is that because of the bell's importance to ringing and communicating with the community is the sound, and we need to be ready. We wanted to develop a treatment that could be done very quickly and in place in the tower. Now, to develop an appropriate treatment involves a little bit of testing and knowing what we're working with. Luckily, there was a bronze bell hanging in the mortuary chapel at the top, and that bell is bronze. Now, it is not rung, so we were able to get permission to take the bell here to the lab.
Mm-hmm.
So this bell is now our test piece, and we'll use what we've learned from this bell to treat the bells that hang in the tower, the
Right.
West Tower. This is a photo of the bells in 1930, and one can see that they are hung by chains right off of the beam, the wood beam.
Mm-hmm.
A difficulty today is that the bells hit each other,
Right.
and we'd like to improve that.
Mm-hmm.
Now, going back to our bell that is in the lab right now, we began with determining where'd that bell come from, and it turns out that it is one of the 3 bells that hung at the Tucson Presidio San Agustin.
Right.
And the fort, or Presidio, dates back to the 1700s, 1775,
Mm-hmm.
and was depicted here in this street. And Kimberly, you told me that these are still near Tucson streets today.
So, Tucson has a footprint of the Presidio, and my understanding is that the entrance to the Presidio is on current-day Alameda, and that this is Main Street, current-day Main Street. So a footprint that we can all revisit by visiting the Presidio even today and seeing the outline of the original Presidio.
So in front of the chapel, based on this engraving from 1860, was a small adobe structure with a little gable and a bell hanging above and two bells hanging at the side. And my understanding is that the Presidio had a patron saint, Guadalupe, but the community had the patron saint, San Augustine. So we believe that the largest bell is the Guadalupe bell, and you can still see that today in the cathedral, the main floor of the cathedral, downtown Tucson. A smaller bell is also in Tucson that had been given to the Sisters of St. Joseph. The San Augustine bell is the one we have in the lab now for testing and protocol development.
Wow.
Susie Morano, who also works out with the San Javier Art Conservators, works here in the lab, and she's just going over some last cleaning. This bell has been cleaned, and we're preparing it now for its wax coating.
Okay.
So this picture gives you an idea of what it looked like before treatment, and we have a lot of crusts and some staining. This picture shows some of the dripping staining. We've tried to reduce that staining and to articulate better the diamond cross and the inscription letters that are below. So what bells have at the top is an argent, which is a little peg that holds it. These are cannons that all hang. This is the crown. The slope is the shoulder. These are molding wires. This becomes the waist, and then the sounding bow. An inscription band is often in the middle, and then the lip. Inside is the clapper ball, and the flight of the clapper. And in this case, with the hole there, it would suggest that a rope would pull the clapper. These bells were often hung so that they could be stationary and the noise would come from the clapper. At San Javier, they've been hung with a chain. So that means that the bell swings in addition to the clapper.
Right.
So let me just point out a couple details. We can see the lettering, we can see the diamond cross, and we can see the thick squared off lip. This, I understand, is typical of late 18th century bells from Zacatecas, Mexico.
Okay.
So it is also similar to the San Javier bells, but we will continue to look into that. Let's, so for the cleaning, after we do documentation, actually, let me go ahead. Gina Watkinson, a conservator in the lab here.
Hey, Gina.
Hey guys.
Gina's holding the XRF, portable X-ray fluorescence spectrometer, and she is going to demonstrate how we place it on the surface to get a bulk metal analysis of the alloys of the bell. This gives us an idea of what the composition of the metal is, how even it is throughout the casting, and tells us something about those crusts. In this case, we have a lot of carbonate, bicarbonate, sulfide, and chloride crusts. Those can be problematic for a bell, so we wanted to reduce them without making it brand new shiny. So in looking at that, we have some printouts that illustrate what that elemental composition is, and give us an idea of the spectra. Now, when we were doing this, And Kimberly, if you want to go to the other side and show, Simon, you can point. Simon Belcher, one of our conservation
Hey, Simon.
technicians. Simon's been funded on our National Endowment for Humanities grant with the Patronato. And Simon's been helping with a number of things related to this bell. We can see on the bell that it was shot at.
Right.
And by using the XRF, we can see the lead composition. One of the other things we were curious about is, were those shot at the bell, or did they fall from above, or what? And Simon made some molds, and you want to explain a little bit? This is modeling clay.
Sure. So we wanted to get some kind of idea of what kind of gun might have been shot at the bell. We can get an idea of the size of the bullet, but the indentations in the bell are so malformed that it's really difficult to get a good estimation of the exact gun that was used to fire it. The biggest indentations we have are those two that you just saw.
Right.
The biggest one we took molds of, and it has a diameter of 10 millimeters, which comes out to about 0.4 inches. So
Which one is that one?
That's this one. So
Okay.
these are the same.
The big one.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so that comes out to about 0.4 inches in diameter, which is about a .40 caliber bullet.
Oh.
So a fairly sizable firearm.
Yeah.
The smaller one has a diameter of about 8 millimeters.
Okay.
So that comes out to about 0.3 inches. So somewhere around some kind of .30 caliber bullet. I'm willing to bet that that's probably more like a .22 caliber that got smushed into the bell and is a little larger.
Right.
But we were interested in trying to see, what range was used to fire at the bell.
How interesting.
So with all of that in mind, we wanted to proceed with how to best clean the surfaces after a lot of documentation. We went through a lot of series of different gels and emulsions and solutions, and then using brushes and other tools, we were able to clean off the surface, as you can see. With that done, we began simultaneously working on what would the appropriate coating be. And we took coupons of bronze metal, made up solutions, and then coated numerous coupons and put them through an environmental chamber at the Arizona Materials Lab with additional students, and accelerated aged the surface coating. So these are the ones that we have ended up with liking a little bit here because of the way they hold up under the intense southern Arizona
Right.
sun and heat for an outdoor environment. So the next step on the bells will be to do the coating and then to treat the wood beam. And Luke Addington, who
Yeah.
you've met, is going to help us with the beams, which have insect damage in addition to staining and coatings that were applied when the tower and the mortuary chapel buildings were being worked on.
Okay.
We have to reduce those and get the bells ready. Then what we are proposing, with the help of village iron workers and the bell ringers, the idea of hanging the bells with two coated iron rods that will hang much like a U through the cannons of the bell and go over the top of the beam and affix. So the bell will be hanging from
Yes.
like this. So we have measured these, and these are all custom made. And we'll use a bit of silicone to be the interface between the metal and the wood.
Oh, great.
So this has all been sort of planned out, and we hope to have the Presidio bell hanging at the mortuary chapel this fall, and with some luck, we'll have funding to begin a workshop and the treatment of the tower bells as soon as it's safe to do so.
And I know, Nancy, you said doing the treatment of the tower bells quickly was really, really important.
Yeah, one of the things that we talked about was that the bells that are used regularly can't really come down and over to a lab for 4 or 5 months. That we want to be able to do that treatment very speedily in place so that the bells can go back up. So some of the things that we've been then working out now that took so many months and so much testing, we actually know what we'd like to use. We're using a cleaning solution of a sodium hexametaphosphate. We worked out the percentage. It's in water. It's safer. It allows us to work with tools. We're using another material, actually a dilute hydrogen peroxide, to deal with the iron stains. These are things we can take into the tower and work now that we know.
So the Presidio bell has really unlocked some incredibly important secrets on how to address the mission bells.
Exactly. It made things so much easier and so much utilizing the advantages of the conservation lab and the time and the engaging in people. So, and being able to do the recording of the sound is allowing us to really learn a lot more about these bells.
And I know you took a recording of the Presidio bell before
Exactly.
you attempted the treatment, right? So-
Right. We wanted to try to have that sound recorded before and after the
Yeah.
treatment. So Simon actually figured out how to use a program on his phone and then computer to capture that sound.
Well, can we have a listen, Simon?
Of course.
Okay. Great. So then when you ring this bell, after conservation, you're going to attempt to have it match that as closely as possible.
Exactly.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
the tonality is so important to preserve.
That's right.
Yeah.
And to be able to do it with the recording where we can look at the frequency
Yeah.
and the acoustics allows us to basically be able to take those measurements again in the future over time, and gives us another tool to understanding the bells.
Well, sure. Well, this is just one part of an ongoing story, and I'm so appreciative that you've invited us here today to see you, Nancy, and meet your team, and get a sense of what this project is all about. And just a real honor to get to be here with you.
Well,
And,
thanks for coming.
Really appreciate